back here. And I'll be back in 2 weeks on the 28th. I have a fundraiser here in this very room. But you heard correct. My name is Joe Mafia, for those that I have not met before. I'm running for the 75th Assembly District here in Manhattan. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background. I've got 3 to 5 minutes, so a little about my background, about my campaign, and hopefully you'll vote for me. So I was born in Spanish Harlem in East Harlem, and moved to the West Side where I played basketball and stickball on the streets of the West Side. And during the 70s, I was the king of graffiti on the West Side, the #1 train. I went to my mom, the single mom, by the way, she's from the islands, from the Virgin Islands, raised us on the West Side, three kids, single parent. And I went to Powell Memorial High School on the West Side. And I'm sorry?
My father went there.
Your father was a great school. And I found and discovered track and field, and I became, in my junior year, and I got a track and field scholarship to Iona University, which track and field really saved my life. I could have seen myself getting in trouble.
Still running.
I can't jump, so running for office. At Iona University, I studied accounting, became a CPA, worked for the 9th largest CPA firm in the world, Main Herdman. Went on to work for Gulf and Western Paramount Pictures. And then I worked for Don King Productions, the boxing promoter, during the Mike Tyson years. Very interesting period. Over a drink, I'll tell you more about it. After Don King Productions, I went went back to public accounting, started my own firm, merged Rosenberg and Mafia, merged that firm into Janover LLC, which is one of the top accounting firms in New York City right now. We have 180 people, 2 offices. Why am I running for office? It's a whole other story. Why at this point in my career am I considering this? Well, the gentleman who held, the assemblyman who held that office, retired in December. He had been in office for 52 years. So, during my profession, my professional career, I've chaired many professional committees, board of directors, audit committees. You know, I have extensive professional experience. I'm also on the Community Board 5 in my district. I'm on the New York State Board of Accountancy. We're a regulatory arm for CPA license, and numerous other organizations, written books. I teach in the graduate and undergraduate school at Hunter College. And let me just tell you about my district. It is so unique. It is most of Hell's Kitchen, Chelsea, Times Square, and Union Square. So it's basically 59th to 16th, 5th to the river. So if you live in my district, please, I want to talk to you, make sure you come out and vote. I'll be realistic, it's an uphill challenge. I'm outnumbered registration-wise, so I need people like you to help. Great. I need you to, talk to people, get me in front of people. I'd love to come to your building, 10, 20 people at a time. And guess what? Most of my constituents are Democrats. So are my volunteers, by the way. So I have, my 30 whatever volunteers. Most of them are Democrats, and some of them are really progressive because of my background. But so the district is got the most important arts and cultural institutions in all of the country. It has the Chelsea Art Galleries. It has Times Square. It has Carnegie Hall. It has Lincoln Center. It has Radio City. It has really the crux of all. You're in my district. Vote for Mafia, please. So it's really got the most important, arts and cultural institutions. So what it also has, and you probably did not know, those that live in the district, did you know that the #1 and the #2 police precincts in all of New York City in terms of crime is in my district leads the city in crime. It's not the South Bronx, it's not Brownsville, it's Hell's Kitchen at Midtown South and Midtown North. And that's been true for quite some time. So crime is the number one, and public safety has been the number one issue in my district. What can I do as a legislature? Well, obviously bail reform. We need to fix the cashless bail program. We need to give judges more judicial discretion, allow them. We're the only state that does not allow a judge to consider how dangerous the person is. So bail reform. Two, the unique thing about the district, we have a concentration of homeless shelters, support services, and they're all right next to each other. So what does that mean? Well, the drug dealers have gone to this area, and they have a marketplace to sell their product. So if you've ever walked down 36, 37, 38 from 10th to Broadway, they're shooting up, they're smoking crack pipes. It's really horrific. And same with north of that in Chelsea. So besides bail reform, and I want to propose legislation that will prevent the concentration of we need fair share. Every area in the city should have the same number of shelters that we have a concentration in our district. In addition to that, we need to have, like we have around schools, a gun-free and drug-free zone. I want to create a 500-foot rule so that one homeless shelter, if you get arrested for possession of a gun or drugs, then you're going to get bumped up charges in that area. And plus, to prevent the concentration. So that's number one. Number two is economics. Everyone's, we're in a looming or potential recession, eventual recession. Everyone's feeling the inflationary pressure. You have the Federal Reserve pumping the brakes, trying to increase interest rates. I'm telling you, New York State's finances are not prepared for this. We received a large federal funding, but that's not going to be there. And the governor passed a balanced budget. As a CPA, this will be a focus of mine. The governor passed a balanced budget. The budget of New York State is around $200 billion. But using accounting gimmicks, over $100 billion is not even reflected on the budget. And that's the unfunded post-retirement monies. So I want to fix that. I want to address that. Secondly, taxes. New York State has the second highest taxes in the entire country. So are you surprised that over 1.5 million people have fled this state? We're one of 12 states that have an estate tax. That 1.5, that migration, that's our tax base, that's our businesses. And we're not talking about the low income people, it's the higher income, it's our tax base. What does that mean? That means fewer people have to pay higher taxes to sustain the state where they are. Albany is notorious for missteps. During the pandemic, we're the only state that increased our income taxes. Guess what? Another 300,000 people left the state. And now if you're reading the papers and you're hearing about this, what Albany's proposing is, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for the concept. They want to increase the minimum wage by over 30% during a potential recession. I'm telling you, the timing could not be worse. I think the way to increase, affordability is an issue here. Living in my district, it's really unaffordable. We need to address the affordability. Well, why not cut the highest, that we have the second highest tax rates? Now, I would not feel badly paying those taxes if I got something in return. If I got safe streets, if you got clean streets, I'm sure you would not mind it, but we're not getting that for these taxes. I can talk taxes all day, so I will. But I want to tell you something else. You did hear me say that I was a graffiti artist, the king of the one train back in the 70s. And I think because my district has such important arts and cultural institutions, I want to help revitalize the district, address the quality of life matters by creating an arts and culture zone. So that will be one of my first legislation proposals that I will put out there. 1,500 New Yorkers agreed with me, signed a petition, and I created an arts and culture party on the ballot in November. So some may, so tell your friends, if you live in the district, tell your neighbors, there is an alternative to the status quo. And that's exactly what we have. 52 years, the gentleman held the seat. There hasn't been a Republican in Manhattan in over 20 years. If they vote for my opponent, the Democrat, they are voting for the status quo. So what I'm going to leave you with is this. Vote for Joe Mafia or else. Or else you're going to get the status quo. Or else you're going to get high taxes. Or else you're going to get fiscal problems. Or else you're going to have high crime. You're going to have poor quality of life. Please, vote for Joe Mafia. And I have vote for Joe Mafia buttons if anyone wants. And please, come to my fundraiser on the 28th right here.